Welcome to eSTEAMERS. I'm your host, Paula Hersey, and I've just discovered a really exciting new organization here on the Cape, teaching kids about oceans and becoming advocates for those oceans. It's really needed here on Cape Cod. With me today from OPAC are Melanie and Jeff. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna have you guys introduce yourselves a little bit. Melanie, you did something really cool as a kid that's sort of turned into your passion now as an adult. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are today.
Sure. So I grew up on the Jersey Shore. So as a kid, I was very, very close to the ocean all the time. I grew up on the beach, right across the street from the beach. I was a really lucky kid, just like a lot of kids on Cape Cod. I was really connected to the ocean. And as I got older, I started learning in school about plastic pollution and a little bit more about the environment. So when I would see trash floating down the river or floating into the bay, it would make me really upset and make me really sad. So one of my best friends and I got together and came up with this idea to create a magazine to kind of send an awareness to other children our age about plastic pollution and about problems that are going on in the ocean. And the name we came up for that was OPAC, which stands for Ocean Protection Advocacy Kids.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How old were you when you did that?
I was 11 years old.
11 years old.
Yeah.
And the ocean touched you so deeply at that age that you wanted to protect it. So now, Jeff, tell us a little bit about you and how you landed on the Cape and developing this organization, OPAC.
Yeah, so I've been coming to the Cape before I could even walk. I've had family here since the 50s and have been fortunate enough to see the Cape evolve for my entire life. And when I was in high school, I decided that I wanted to see more of the ocean, not just the Cape Cod waters. And I started sailing on tall ships.
Oh, cool.
And got to do a lot of fun things. Did 2 transatlantics with that, doing research on ocean plastics and phytoplankton and marine megafauna. And during those trips, I realized just how much of an issue there is in ocean awareness and ocean communication. And I brought that back and started teaching with an organization called the Hudson River Sloop Clearwater. And they did environmental education on the Hudson River. And I did that through another boat called the Mystic Whaler, and started to realize how many students didn't even know what was in the water, let alone that it was an issue that the water and the ocean had so many negative impacts from ourselves. And through that, I started studying marine science at Boston University and graduated with my degree there. And since then have been working on trying to get the word out that we need to do more.
Need to do more. So you came to the Cape as well, Melanie, and you guys kind of joined forces here. Tell us a little bit about how the organization kind of came together.
It kind of started out just as a what-if conversation. You know, what if we started something and that would get kids involved with science and art at the same time? Because I have a music background. I went to school to be a music teacher, but I also have this huge passion for the environment and for the ocean. So putting this together has really just been like kind of a dream come true.
That's great. So you guys are really, truly eSTEAMERS, right? Entrepreneurs building Cape Cod's future with science, technology, engineering, art, and math. So tell us a little bit about the organization, your outreach. What are you doing for programming? What age kids are this good for? And how do you kind of put together art with the technical science piece of this? And I know those are a lot of questions, but, you know, tell me, how did it all come together? It's just, it's fascinating.
So basically what we do is we teach a marine science curriculum that gets students out to the beaches, out in the open, doing hands-on science experiments and learning about the different creatures that are in the ocean with hands-on activities like games. And once we've done the marine science portion of our curriculum, we kind of switch over to an art and advocacy part. So once they've really become connected and really become curious about what's out there, we encourage them to advocate for it through artwork. So we do songwriting, poetry writing, we've done watercolor painting, we make oyster shell ornaments, anything to get the children to really express themselves about what they've just learned.
That's great. So talk a little bit about the science, Jeff. So you've got that marine science background. What happens when kids discover this for the first time? Because it's a misnomer that every child here in Cape Cod goes to the ocean. A lot of them don't. In our previous conversation, that was kind of something that came up, is that, you know, some of these kids have never seen the ocean before.
Yeah, it's troublesome to me that not everyone that lives just miles away from the water has never seen the water.
Right.
And I think that really is our inspiration, is to get students to become curious about the natural world, whether it is an estuary, it's the deep ocean, or just the beach. And when it comes to the science portion of our curriculum, it's how do you get a student to become curious? And that's what Melanie was saying, we want to be as hands-on as possible. So if we're talking the microscopic world of phytoplankton and zooplankton and all of these wonderful microscopic and sometimes macroscopic organisms that we can catch, we want students to build their own nets and go down to the beach and use them. And that brings in the engineering part of STEAM. It also brings in the art, because they get to create their own net, and they get to go out and use it to become scientists. And if we're talking whales, well, we want students to actually line themselves up and see how many students it takes to be the length of a blue whale. We want students to really engage with the curriculum that they're dealing with, not just read it out of a textbook, because our age group really is upper elementary through middle school, and at that age, the artwork, I think, is the best reinforcement of what the students are trying to get out of what they're learning.
What do you find when kids go to the beach and they've started to learn all about the health of the ocean, and then they come across plastic? Is there a visceral reaction from these kids that says this is wrong?
Yeah, they do. We took students out on a whale watch, and the kids were so excited to see whales, but it was cool seeing them see the whales, but it was actually cooler for us to see them react to the plastic that was floating by on the boat on our way out. So, you know, that they were clearly concerned about it and, you know, pointing it out, and we're really proud of them for noticing.
Right. And again, that's where they start to become advocates, and, you know, will say something to a friend who starts to litter, because even if you're littering on the streets, a lot of that ends up in our oceans. We're surrounded by water, and teaching that is just a fantastic way to keep that advocacy alive. Talk a little bit about, you do some work with the schools, and then some of your programming in the summer. How do you work with some of the schools here on the Cape?
Our main goal is to really be a supplement to what teachers are bringing to their own students. We want to go in with an exciting topic that highlights environmental science, marine science, and add to it. For instance, if a teacher is talking about estuaries, we want to bring those students into a marsh. We want to get them with their hands on some horseshoe crabs, and we want them to be using water quality kits and building their own plankton nets, and bring that back into the classroom where then they can build, whether it's a day-long art project or a semester-long project, where they can really show other people what they're doing. So we try and find teachers that want us to engage with their students, but we also try and find teachers that want to continue engaging with their students once we leave. It's more of a community mission of getting those students to continue to be advocates, not just one day where OPAC shows up. It's, no, OPAC came, and what can we do about it?
Oh, that's great. Talk a little bit about, this is dealing with that age group of kids. We've had summer camps, and there's a lot going on with those age groups. Do you guys use volunteers for this? I mean, you're just two people, so I'm thinking, even if you're in a school, you need kind of more people to be involved in the organization?
Yeah, absolutely. Over the summer, we had a really fantastic intern working with us, and now that we are doing our classroom programming, we are looking for some volunteers to come in. We can train them how to teach some of the lessons. If a volunteer is stronger in the arts, they can help us with the art portion. If they're really stronger in the sciences, they can help us with the science portion. Yeah.
That's great. You talk about interns, but even some of the older folks here probably have those passions as well.
Yeah.
So you're looking for any age group that has a passion in keeping our oceans, our ocean environment alive and well.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. What else can you tell us a little bit about how these kids, because it fascinates me that once you put some type of tool or some type of science or technology in a kid's hand and art in a kid's hand, taking those two together, can you give me an example of maybe a poem or an art project that kind of resulted from your programming?
Yeah, I think the song.
Yeah.
Right? So we did a program at Thatcher Montessori School, which is in Milton, Massachusetts. And we did kind of like a 4-week program where we brought in microscopes and different science experiments into the classroom. And then towards the end of the month, we wrote a song together. And all the lyrics were written 100% by the students themselves. And the song is actually called Take Care of the Ocean. And it turned out really, really beautiful. We recorded it together in the greenhouse because it had really cool acoustics. So I kind of asked them where they wanted to record it. They got to decide where was the best space to record it, acoustics-wise. We kind of talked about that with them. And it really turned out to be a nice project. And it was all them. They did it all themselves.
Aren't kids amazing?
Yeah.
They really are. It must be a fun job to watch the enlightenment happen and then have that advocacy kind of be born into them. As I was telling somebody this morning, if we don't teach the kids now, then their kids won't have the ocean. Right? So that's kind of where it's at. How can people get in touch with you?
Our website's the easiest way to get in touch with us. It has all of our contact information as well as how to become a volunteer, a little bit of information about what we've done. And that website is www.opac, which is OPAK, edu.org.
Excellent. Anything else you want to add before we end?
I would like
Just that
Sorry.
you don't have to be a kid to become curious about the ocean. We always talk about the students that we've had that are younger and have done incredible artwork, and it's actually sometimes the parents that come along with them that the light bulb goes off even faster. So I encourage all age groups to reach out to us. It's not just elementary and middle school students that can benefit from getting out there, getting their hands into the water.
That's great.
Our philosophy is that no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter what your education is, you have the ability to make a difference. And even if you're 10 years old, you still have a voice. And that's what we want our students to know. We want them to know that they can go out into the world, they can communicate about what they care about, and they can really make a difference.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Thank you for watching eSTEAMERS today. This is a really important show. Having kids become advocates for our ocean will help the oceans still be alive for their kids. Get involved today.
On October 21st, the Cape Cod STEM Network held their 12th Science in the Street event. Science in the Street is an all-day event that shows you how science, technology, engineering, and math all come into play in work and in real-life situations. This year, there was 23 exhibitors that represented all sides of STEM, from robotics, marine life, archaeology, and the physics behind kites. The event brought in over 500 attendees from across Cape Cod and off Cape, and is looking forward to having the STEM-themed event again in the future. So if you're interested in STEM, make sure you check out the Cape Cod Regional STEM Network's website.